I got another video I'm working on. I need the space for this weekend though, so I guess I'm deleting it and redoing it, which isn't all that bad to be honest, because I wasn't super happy with the way that it was turning out so far. Welcome to my channel. I'm Kunda. This weekend we got two different protests to attend, and today we're going to the Free Your Mind rally put on by Informed Consent Nova Scotia, which can almost certainly be summed up as anti-mask mandate and anti-unconsensual vaccinations. So that's what we're doing, where we're going today. But to be honest, I think people's individual choice and body autonomy is important to protect anyway, and we should all be kind of supportive of people making their own choices. Something along the lines of that thing back there. So, yeah, I would be there anyway. I just want to provide a service to y'all and help you see what's going on too. Out here in Bears Lake, as you can see behind me, there is no shortage of cars. I am not the only one out here today. Anyway, I'm going to throw another layer on. It is deceptively chilly outside, and then I'm going to go talk to the protesters, demonstrators, not sure what they want to be called, that can be a little iffy these days too, and see if they want to say anything. So it's not an overwhelming turnout or anything, but there's maybe almost a dozen people, or about a dozen people or so, out demonstrating, holding signs.
There's a sun up there.
So I'm down here with the people protesting the lockdown measures, get a good look at their signs. This is Sandra. She was just telling me about previous experience with another protest organized and the interview experience with CBC. Was it?
It was actually, CTV was there,
Yeah.
ATV was there, and two other independent media was there as well. And they all asked me, so it was a 20-minute interview that my friend actually recorded the entire thing.
Yeah.
So that we'd have it, right, as proof of what I said. And at the end of it all, he wrapped, so I gave him data, I gave him statistics, I quoted like the New England Journal of Medicine, the whole 9 yards. And then at the end of it, he says to me, so what would you say to somebody who wanted to wear a mask? And I said, well, if they want to wear a mask, that's their choice. I'm all for freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And I said, but they should never insist that somebody else wear one. And that was the only snippet that made it on the news, was that.
Of course.
Yeah. So it was funny, I got home that night, my mother, who's a senior, and I helped take care of her, she lives upstairs to me.
Yeah.
She says to me, I watched the news. Why didn't you tell them all these statistics that you tell me all the time and these studies? And I said, well, I did. And so it's funny because my friend had already posted the real interview, the entire interview.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I showed it to my mom. And it planted that seed of, oh, maybe the media is slanting things, right? So
Yeah.
it was interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the clips they choose when you give them quite a bit to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting. ATV actually took it to another extreme because we had some protesters there who were being quite rude.
And this was the one in July, was it?
Yeah, the one in July.
Okay.
And it was down on the waterfront, right by Salty's. And anyway, so they had put that little snippet in, and then they took a snippet from one of the anti-protesters yelling in my face, "You're an effing idiot!"
Yeah.
But they didn't do that to me. They did it off camera afterwards, or off our discussion afterwards when they interviewed the anti-protesters. But they married the two snippets together.
Yeah.
To the point that my aunt watched, who's a senior citizen, watched it on ATV News, calls my mom asking if I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because it looks like this woman attacked me, literally, physically and verbally. And mom's like, oh my, so she was scared for me. And I'm thinking they sent two little old ladies into a frenzy over something that didn't happen.
Yeah. I'm curious to see that article now.
Yeah?
Was that the one on the waterfront that you mentioned, I was at another one of these events, but it was at Grand Parade, I think.
Yes, this was just before that one.
Oh, okay.
Probably 2 weeks before that one.
Oh, okay.
Around there.
Yeah, the one I was at didn't seem like there was much anti-presence there at all.
There wasn't any antis there.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. And we actually had a little bit of a police presence for that one, because I've called them every single time that we've had a protest or a demonstration or anything like that, because it's our constitutional right to peacefully protest. We're allowed to do that as still somewhat free humans in this country. And each time, well, that one time, they showed up, they kept the distance, but no, they didn't come, they never came within the crowd at all, which kind of surprised me. And so this time, I didn't bother calling them.
Yeah.
So.
And might be better off compared to, I think it was Vancouver that you saw them get rough with one of the protests?
Yeah.
I wasn't...
In Toronto.
They did in Toronto too?
Toronto. They had people taken away in handcuffs and charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't as brutal as Vancouver, though. I thought they got like pretty physical in one of the BC cities.
Yeah, the one in Vancouver was pretty physical. I think the one in Toronto, the last Saturday, because they have them every Saturday at Queen's Park. I've seen footage that they weren't really physical, but they were definitely taking people away.
Okay.
And they were overheard, somebody on their way to the march that passed by the police that were all there together, congregating.
Yeah.
Not 6 foot apart, which is ironic. He overheard one of them say, "Identify the leader of the group, and we haul him into jail."
So sketchy.
Yeah. Well, we're in a war, and people need to understand that it's a war. It's an invisible war, but the weapons are even more mass destruction than what they said that Saddam Hussein had. At least with a bomb, you're only taking out, a focus. With this, you're taking out the entire world. You have misinformation. We're in the days of book burning. It's modern day book burning. When you have stuff that's scrubbed from the internet, that's hauled off of YouTube, hauled off of Facebook. I'm in Facebook jail for 30 days for saying something that literally was not nasty at all. And they said that I was invoking hate speech.
Yeah. Because
I said something negative on a post from a friend, like-minded friend.
Yeah. That
him and I were joking around about. Like, I didn't even post it. It was a comment on his page.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then, 30-day ban. And so when you squash freedoms, I don't care if you're pro mask or against masks or pro-vaccine or against vaccines, every single human being living in a democratic country should be pro-freedom.
Yeah.
If you're not, go move to a communist country. Go to China. Go to Cuba. Get out of here. But while we still have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms and a Canadian Constitution, we will practice our freedoms. And as they're being taken away, it's so funny. If you look at the parallels between the Nazis and what's currently going on, there's so many. So the modern day book burning, that's happening right now. Removing guns, well, that's what Trudeau did last year. And if you looked at it, he says, like all of the media said it was against the R-15s. But if you actually look at the list of 100 guns that were removed, what's a joke is there's actually an airsoft BB gun that you can buy at Canadian Tire for $100. But because it's rapid fire, I couldn't hurt you if I wanted to. I might be able to hurt your eye, and I'd have to be a really good marksman for that. But I couldn't kill anybody with that. That was on the list of banned guns.
And I've seen that they've actually come out against airsoft and paintball in newer versions of these anti-gun laws that they're coming out with.
That's right. And so that's what Hitler did. He removed the guns. You have to remember, a lot of people think Hitler was this maniac who was, nasty. And he was diabolical. But at the beginning, you have to remember, he was voted in, people. He was voted in. Not only that, he was very, very suave and very good with his words and his language and kind of debonair. Well, I think that kind of smells of our Trudeau, or Castro, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, people react very viscerally when you make that comparison. I remember seeing somebody had done a painting and people were very offended online, but
Yeah,
people seem to have a tendency to make that comparison sometimes,
yes, I agree.
independently of each other.
Yes, and I think what kind of it sends anybody over the age of 30 understands the Holocaust. I find there's a lot of the younger generation that don't, and that's just because of schooling. But if you understand what happened in the Holocaust, you start to understand, like, I'm almost 56, and in my day, we learned a lot of what led up to the Holocaust, right?
Yeah.
When I was going to school. Whereas slowly that was removed to the point that now my 30-year-old, he said he learned about the Holocaust, but it existed and 6 million Jews were killed. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So they kind of condense it, because they don't want you to know the truth. And what a lot of people don't even realize is a lot of the mind control experts that took part in that slaughter, that genocide, were actually not ever tried for their crimes, for their war crimes. They were actually brought over to the U.S.
Is that
NASA.
related to the Operation Paperclip kind of things?
Yeah, NASA and CIA brought them over to teach them mind control techniques.
And do you think it's certainly to do with like central planning and population control, or could it just be like a indicator of like a degrading public education system?
Good question. Well, I totally wouldn't know unless I looked. And I looked at something called the UN Agenda 2030. It's right there in black and white if anybody wants to read it. It's 900 pages, mind you. But if you want to go through it, you can see the language that's used. And language is very key, which is ironic. They aren't teaching children to critically think or to sort of analyze language, right? The other thing is, if you go to the World Economic Forum website, it's right there in black and white.
Yeah, both of those
Right
organizations have become a lot more transparent than
Yeah.
I remember them being like 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Looking them up, well, seeing conspiracy pages and YouTubers talk about them online, and
Yeah.
it was a lot more hush hush. I remember Dan Dix, Press for Truth,
Yes,
used
love
to,
him.
yeah, he used to have to go right to like the airport and try and
Yes.
like ambush journalism, these kind of
Yes.
figures.
Yes.
And now, like, they obviously don't publish everything on their website, but they've got a surprising amount of information if you want to dig
there.
through it there.
That's right. It's there. And people just don't want to look. And it's funny you said the word conspiracy, and that's something I want to address real quick, is that people always say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. So what you have to understand is we've been programmed to use that term. It was done by CIA, started that term after JFK was assassinated. And so the term is just thrown out to dismiss somebody. But let's look at it logically. If there was never any conspiracies, we would never have had war. We wouldn't need defense attorneys. We wouldn't need a ton of criminal justices. We wouldn't need near as big jails as we have, because all crimes start with a conspiracy. They conspire to commit a crime.
Well, anything that's planned out and between two or more people kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like, just looking at the literal definition of the word conspiracy, it's not as dismissive as we've been conditioned to see it as.
Absolutely, 100%. And so if you look at things, they're facts. World Economic Forum put out a video a couple months ago with two people kind of, you know, it was kind of Pollyanna, these two people running down the field going, oh, it's the year 2025 and we own nothing and we're so happy.
Oh yeah, that's stupidity. That's stupidity to the extreme.
It was whoever watched. I mean, they got so much hate from that.
Yeah.
And so many.
I remember there being quite a bit of backlash over the "You Will Own Nothing" video.
Yes, so they had to take it down.
Did they end up taking it down?
They ended up taking it down. But of course, some people who were smart reported it first or copied it.
Yeah.
It's right there. If people want to look, it's there in front of their face. It always looks good. You just have to have eyes that see. That's all.
And it's important we figure out what's fact and what we're being misled about.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, like, regardless, there's some of that everywhere.
Absolutely.
But it's important. That's where the critical thinking aspect comes in, not just dismissing based on one thing or another.
That's right. And so I think what's important is you need to ask who's saying it, what do they have to gain from this, what do they have to lose from this? Because it's really important. If you look at doctors that are speaking out against the lockdowns, what do they have to lose? They have a ton to lose, including their licenses, including the ability to provide for their families. Why would they speak out if they could risk that?
Yeah, it's putting a lot on the line for them.
Absolutely. So I think it's really important for people to ask those questions and look for evidence. If a media source doesn't give their source or their evidence, I would question it. Whereas if a media source actually offers their study or source or whatever, okay, that's a little more ethical.
Yeah.
Right?
It's important to look at what people provide for citations and sources and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say, or?
No, I just wanted to say that people need to stand up now while they can, because there's reasons why people who live in our country that have come from communist countries are shouting from the rooftops that this is not okay. And we need to pay attention to those, because you need to be on the right side of history.
We certainly do need to be paying attention. Thank you very much, Sandra.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Jessica Schleich. I am the founder of Strength in Numbers campaign, and we are having a get-together for the Freedom Rally on March 27th at 1 o'clock at the Bridgewater Mall, and we're going to walk over to Shipyards Landing. So if you'd like to join us and fight for your freedom, stand up for your rights for your children in the future, and end this tyranny, we would love to see you there. Strength in Numbers.
Only seen 2 people drive by so far, giving the protesters the finger, so. And I don't want to suggest that it's all middle fingers. We're actually getting some supportive honks and thumbs up down here too. It's a pretty mixed bag. It's good to see both.
I'm going to court on Thursday. I'm going to be not guilty 100%, right? We're hoping to go to court. Here's my cell number if you guys just want to talk or anything. We're hoping to get together. So
We're
yeah.
going to do this every Saturday.
I'm sorry?
We're going to try to do this every Saturday.
Yeah, okay, like I'm telling everybody, like nobody cares, you guys. Take care of your kids, your grandkids. 85% of the people, 85% don't look good, and say this morning. Holy moly.
I don't know, I'll keep pressing, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, so just put a post. We'll try to meet here every Saturday, maybe even one person if we can help with something, right?
Yes.
Everybody wants to get. I'm just another guy. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good luck. Hey, take care of your families. We're doing this for the children, right?
Where's the fruit?
Thank you. Thank you. I love that.
So that at the end there was just a sheet of information that I was given at the protest. Thought I'd throw that in the video too, see what people think of it, and see what was being passed out. Anyway, that's pretty much how my day went. It's the end of her now. Tomorrow could be fairly similar. It's a Hong Kong protest tomorrow. Need to have more of those considering what's going on over on the opposite side of the world. But yeah, thanks for watching. Share any of your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.